Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. AYLS 2015 opening ceremony has been launched by the Honorable Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia just now. We are honoured to listen to his speech on the importance of regional integration and cohesiveness while embracing differences and diversities. As mentioned by our Minister of Youth and Sports Malaysia, His Excellency Khairi Jamaluddin, this summit is unique because it was designed specifically around the value you can bring the table as ASEAN youth. It's not the time to be passive listeners. Your contributions will shape this summit, and each of us here have the ability to make the summit truly significant and valuable to ASEAN. Ladies and gentlemen, now going to the first session, I would like to invite Yang Bahagia Tan Sri Rafidah Aziz, the former Minister of International Trade and Industry, accompanied by Mr. Muammar Gaddafi Jamal, President of Malaysian Youth Council, the biggest youth NGO in Malaysia, to the stage. Mr. Muammar, the stage is yours.
A'udzubillahi minasyaitanirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Quite nervous sitting here next to an iron lady. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Brothers and sisters, to accomplish great things in life, one must not only dream but also believe. One must not only plan but also act. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam satu belia, salam satu Malaysia. Salam one youth, one ASEAN. And a very good morning I bid to our honorable guest speaker Tan Sri Rafidah Aziz. Still look young and vibrant. Our honorable Minister of Youth and Sports, Saudara Khairi Jamaluddin, and all the young leaders who are present here. Some of us may be young at heart. Let us all give a round of applause to everybody who are passionate and adamant to be here today. Most importantly again, I would like to welcome everyone to the ASEAN Young Leaders Summit 2015. And interestingly, the theme for our conference throughout this week is going to be youth driving the ASEAN community. My name, yes, is Muammar Gaddafi Jamal. I'm here before you as the President of Malaysian Youth Council. I am determined to moderate this session and emphasize on the importance of youth in driving any community towards success, especially our beloved ASEAN community. Before we proceed, Tan Sri, I have set this session to be very laid back as possible. I'm going to invite Tan Sri to give her keynote speech for around 45 to 60 minutes, and then we will open the floor for the participant to ask questions or share any of their thoughts in their Q&A session. With that, it gives me a great pleasure to share the illustrious career of our guest speaker, Tan Sri Rafidah Aziz. Short one. They give me so long one, Tan Sri. Okay, basically Tan Sri, the minister from 1987 up until 2013. 1980 to 2013. I'm very sorry, Tan Sri. Yeah. And brilliant career. Without further ado, I invite Tan Sri to take the floor. Tan Sri, silakan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dan salam sejahtera. Yang berhormat Khairi Jamaluddin, Yang berhormat Pihin Major General Halbi, guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you very much to the Ministry for inviting me here to speak at this conference. And thank you, Muammar, for introducing me. I always say, it's a good thing that you didn't say she needs no introduction. And then you go on, talk 10 minutes about me. You know, it's a good thing you didn't use that word. But anyway, I just would like to say that you wouldn't have much to say afterwards because I'll conduct my own Q&A from here. No, I'm just joking, just to make you at ease. Well, I would like first of all to say welcome to all our youth and friends from the region to this conference. And I do hope that this conference is not just a part of the many meetings that we have in any one country, and this time it's Malaysia, just because we're having to chair the summit. You know, I've had this experience where let's have a meeting of this and that, the other, to coincide with us sharing. So for the youth, I do not think this is so KJ kan. This should be a conference with some outcomes, very concrete outcomes, that could move the ASEAN processes forward. Not just for the youth, but the totality of the ASEAN integration processes. And I'm glad that you are talking not only about a people-centered ASEAN, but about youth driving the ASEAN community. Tak apa, don't worry. See, I'm more comfortable, it's higher there. Youth driving the ASEAN community. It's a very loaded word, this driving, you know. Because if you want to drive a car, you better know everything about the car. If it stalls on the road and you don't know how to even replace a punctured tire, you're in deep trouble. You don't know how to check the gauge of the fuel or whatever, you're having trouble. So, on that note, I would like, first of all, to alert you that you have to understand what ASEAN is all about in its entirety before you can even be expected to drive ASEAN forward. You can't just begin halfway and then take it from there, because you have to understand what started before. And I'm not going to give a lecture on that, I'll just put it in the nutshell so that you have a perspective of what happened before, why it was done, and why we need you to drive the ASEAN agenda forward. And first of all, I like to say that ASEAN is a process. It doesn't happen just because we say the ASEAN community is to be evolved, established in December 2015, which is just about 1.5 months away. It doesn't mean that if we haven't fulfilled everything 100%, then we go and moan and say we have failed. No, it is a process. When we did that the last time, actually the leaders wanted it to be completed 2020. And then midway through the Bali Concord 2, we pushed the leaders actually to say, why not make it faster, accelerate it to 2015? And the leaders thought, yeah, why not? Why should we wait to 2020? It's too long from that time. And so the end date was 2020. And we are able now to see whether or not we've reached some of the targets, if not all, and how the outreach of ASEAN has been to all sectors and spheres of the peoples of ASEAN. So for all of you young people who are going to drive ASEAN forward, it is important to have a good understanding of the evolution of the ASEAN and what is expected to become after this, to be apprised of what not only the goals and objectives, but also to understand why we have those goals and what are the roles and responsibilities in driving it forward. Of course, taking into consideration the goals, the challenges and the opportunities. And I would like to again to just recap. It was catalyzed, really, this ASEAN community evolution by, as I said earlier, Bali Concord 2, where the integration was supposed to be on a foundation of 3 pillars. Very quickly, recap the 3 pillars. One, with what we call the socio-cultural pillar. Secondly, the economic pillar. And the third, security pillar. Let me just go to the first one, the political and security pillar. This entails a rules-based community, integration that is peaceful, evolutionary, and with a shared sense of responsibility, and also ASEAN sharing comprehensive security in the region. ASEAN will be dynamic and supporting efforts to form a global outreach and mutual interdependence. So in other words, it's not a closed entity, it is with global outreach. And it is an ASEAN entity which propagates the protection of human rights. That is in that first pillar. The second pillar is one that entails evolution of a common market and also a shared production base. And ASEAN, which is competitive with other regions, it is an entity with as few development gaps as possible amongst the countries. And it is an entity which is integrated and yet able to retain its own momentum in moving forward its external economic relations. In this context, we, the ministers at that time, used to say, whatever we do with external countries or economies outside of ASEAN, ASEAN must be in the driver's seat, using the word you're driving. That is a common phrase we use. Are we in the driving seat or not? Or is somebody else pushing us? So you young people will have to understand, ASEAN must continue to be in the driver's seat for any of our outreach, any of our interaction external to ASEAN. And to be the driver's seat, you must have the capacity to drive ASEAN as the core of any external relations that we have. The third pillar is a social cultural pillar, which encompasses human resource development, provision of adequate social and welfare services, social rights and justice, environmental sustainability, forming an ASEAN identity, and also narrowing of developmental gaps amongst the member states. And in this third pillar, there is an action plan to move the objectives of the third pillar forward. And this is based on nurturing human, cultural, and natural resources for sustained development and in a harmonious and people-centered ASEAN. So that's why your theme, people-centered ASEAN, it is taken from that third pillar. So all these three pillars encompass what I call the 3 Ps. Peace, number 1 P is peace. And this is regional peace and stability. The second P is prosperity through economic integration and cooperation. And third is people, which we're talking about, through human and social development. So the integration of ASEAN based on those 3 pillars involves actually economic transformation. It involves people empowerment and engagement. It involves innovation. And finally, it is to realize what the ASEAN Charter envisages. 1 vision, 1 identity, 1 caring and sharing community. Now, I have encapsulated what happened over several decades actually in terms of the evolution of ASEAN, how ASEAN is seen to be in totality, and how those pieces which form the member states come into being as one ASEAN entity. And what we now see is that the goals and targets around the integration of ASEAN around 3 pillars have not been equally achieved. There's been some imbalances in achievement of targets and goals amongst the 3 pillars. All have spin-offs, certainly, to the peoples of ASEAN. But if you were to ask a question, is ASEAN integration evolving as expected? Or has the people-centered ASEAN become a reality? We can also ask the question, has ASEAN become a pervasive factor at all levels and spheres of the ASEAN population at large? And we can also ask, has the ASEAN identity been forged? Is there now really an ASEAN community where people of every member country understand and recognize and accept? In theory, that's what we wanted. Now, 2015, we ask ourselves, are those really there? Do you go to Kuala Kerai, Gua Musang, you go to Kuala Kangsar, Ulu Bekor, where I was as MP for 31 years, you ask the guy there, how is ASEAN, macam mana ASEAN? They won't know. Or you go to another rural backwater in Thailand, rural backwater wherever in ASEAN, they'll be hard-pressed to explain what is ASEAN. They've never heard of the word. Trust me, ASEAN has not been pervasive, has not had that people outreach as we expected. Now, I'm not apportioning any blame, I'm just saying this is a time for us to take stock while we're meeting here in Malaysia and facing December 31st, 2015 very rapidly. So let's take stock, because the outreach is so important. Otherwise, ASEAN becomes a conference theme all the time. Until the time some of you become PMs anywhere, same thing. So the outreach is important. So as it stands now, it is the economic integration of ASEAN that has become the main drivers and the catalyst of the community. And why? Because it is a market-driven initiative. Because the private sector are the ones driving economic integration, because they see the direct benefit of cross-border business, cross-border investment flows, and cross-border businesses. So they can see the trickle-down effect, the creation of employment, creation of side businesses from banking, and so on. So the private sector have seen that through ASEAN Free Trade Area, the AFTA, which we formulated a long time ago, there has been removal of tariffs. More than 90% now tariffs intra-ASEAN have been removed. There has been continuing eradication of non-tariff barriers. There has been facilitation of cross-border flows of this investment capital and now skilled human resources. There have also been put into place harmonization of standards to facilitate trade. There's also the optimization in some areas of the ASEAN diversities and complementarities to evolve competitive ASEAN production and supply bases. So the private sector to their own devices, have been able to galvanize the ASEAN complementarities and diversities to benefit them as business people. When we talk about ASEAN community, it is not just ASEAN economic community. I mentioned just now the 3 pillars. Most of the time, focus has been on the economic pillar. So, although in the economic pillar, we have some successes, I would like to also qualify the successes have been in the goods sector. The services sector still lagging behind. And this is simply because there have been some lack of capacity in implementing some of the obligations among some ASEAN countries in the services areas. But the outreach have been made, but still not comprehensive. For example, the ASEAN Business Council, they're very active. The Women Entrepreneurs Network, quite active. The SME agenda is ongoing. The youth agenda is there. But the people agenda still not completed. It will never be complete. Look at the 600 million people, it's not an easy outreach to make them understand. So, we would like to make sure that there is greater inclusiveness in the ASEAN processes by reaching out to those who are not yet on board in that integration process. The many SMEs, for example, that are still domestic, that do not understand cross-border business. And we hope that with the spur of the ASEAN integration driven by the economic integration processes, it will then spill over to the other aspects or the other 2 pillars. Ladies and gentlemen, there is for us a need to characterize ASEAN and the ASEAN people almost in the same manner as the Europeans were characterized. The Europeans are a diverse community, and yet we talk about European car. We talk about Europeans as though that the Greeks and the Italians are the same. We talk about Europeans as though the French and the Italians are the same. They're not. But we always say European because they have a European parliament, they have European everything. But we don't have to have a European parliament. We don't have to have one, ASEAN parliament. We don't have to have one ASEAN currency in order to be ASEAN. It is important that sectors that matter have that ASEAN identity. The business sector, the cultural sector, the youth, and the people at large. And this is what we should be talking about. And to me, when we talk about people-centered ASEAN, it should be projected as a people, diverse and yet similar in many ways in ASEAN. We are living in a region with shared destiny. We have different levels of capacities which can be galvanized into an ASEAN strength, optimizing our complementarities. And we need to create that ASEAN identity as fast as possible before people forget about ASEAN. This is something very important. The marketing of ASEAN, something substantive to market. The economic ministers have been marketing ASEAN as a free trade area. That's not enough. We have 600 million people. People should see us, in the same context that they see India, which is much less in terms of numbers of people as a market and as a production base. So the marketing of the ASEAN identity must be there. And we should be talking about building up of ASEAN human resource capacities. We should be talking about engagement with the various stakeholders across the board, beyond governments and beyond businesses. This is so important. So in short, from now on, there must be the all-encompassing community outreach initiatives by all parties, especially by amongst the youth, where you can have policies and programs towards the branding of ASEAN, the forging of the ASEAN identity, and the inculcating of an understanding of the ASEAN-ness amongst the ASEAN peoples. I'm not so sure how many of us, even in Malaysia, talk about ourselves as part of ASEAN. No, not the layman, not anyone beyond the ministries, not anybody beyond the civil service. I'm not sure the civil service even think of them as part, I'm addressing them tomorrow, as part of ASEAN civil service. I doubt it very much. So, the awareness of being part of ASEAN is still not there. And these efforts must be, as I said earlier, in an inclusive format so that it can reach out to the various population strata and population groups in ASEAN. But to my mind, having said all that, the future of ASEAN lies on how the next generation of decision makers, I don't want to talk about leaders, because once you talk about leaders, every one of you is thinking, I'm going to be minister, I'm going to be prime minister, or being a CEO here and there. No, decision makers at your own levels. very dangerous, Carrie, to talk about leaders, amongst the young. They think about leaping up there, leapfrog and take over somebody, So, all of you are leaders in your own circles of influence, right? Doesn't matter where you are, you're all leaders. You are all decision makers, that's why I call you leaders. So, do not talk about political leaders, business leaders. Talk about leadership qualities in you. So, to me, all of you who will become decision makers in your own areas of influence or your own circles of influence are the ones that are going to move ASEAN forward. Many will be retiring. Those who form, like me, we were the ones who shaped, the ones before me shaped ASEAN. In its very early formative years and no more. Then my generation came. We are going on. The next generation is you. So it is important for you to continue to build upon what has been built now and use whatever foundation to build upon it. And I would like to say that you are the Gen Y in the ASEAN that's going to move the process forward. So the pertinent question now is to ask, is the young of ASEAN really having a good understanding of what ASEAN is all about? That is a question. If you don't understand, it's like driving a car. You don't know what the car, where the keys are and all that, don't drive. Even if we give you the license, you're going to knock somebody down. So I have several proposals to make for a start, to set you thinking, to shape and realize the ASEAN identity beyond governments, beyond departments, beyond ministries. 1, begin in schools in ASEAN. I would like to suggest that in every school in ASEAN, try to have at least one civic subject, once a week, 2 weeks, for example, on ASEAN. Somebody teaching about ASEAN, have some format drawn up where the young begin to understand there is an ASEAN somewhere in their life. And we can inculcate that ASEAN-ness in secondary schools. Start there, teaching very basic ASEAN, what we are. And then, of course, you go on to tertiary levels. At the tertiary level, we can encourage student exchange programs. That's the only way to learn. And then we can have set-asides for places in universities and colleges for students from ASEAN. Like 10% students from ASEAN in every private sector and government sector, university or college in this country, and anywhere else for that matter, offering subjects that can be opened up to others. And, of course, domestic governments can provide scholarships for the student to come and study in the next ASEAN country. And then continue with your youth networking, because I know that over the years, the ministries of youth have always initiated networking programs amongst the youth, especially country visits and involving themselves with community projects at grassroots. That's the most important, not at conferences. That's very high level. Go down to grassroots and meet the ASEAN people. And of course, expose them to the economic opportunities of ASEAN. To my mind, you cannot expect the young of ASEAN to appreciate ASEAN if they have to ask, what's in it for me? So, when you have ASEAN business programs, when you have ASEAN initiatives at whatever level, the trickle-down effect must be monitored such that the young of ASEAN understand this is a result of ASEAN collaboration. This is a result of an ASEAN program, not my country alone. This is a result of collective programs of ASEAN ministries, ASEAN departments. Then we'll be able to realize that mentality of ASEAN-ness amongst our young. Otherwise they say, what is this ASEAN? What is it for me? I'm okay. But they don't realize that some of the programs that have been done up really was on an ASEAN basis. And then, for example, when you talk about business opportunities, both in goods, in services areas, and then the concept of ongoing business networking and collaboration for business within ASEAN and outside of ASEAN. As you know, we ASEAN are living in a global environment, so don't let our people be cocooned with only an ASEAN mentality. ASEAN plus, to go out of the ASEAN borders. And also, I would like to recommend, for example, internship, definite programs of internship by companies, by private sector or government-linked companies in ASEAN for ASEAN youth. Take them in for 6 months, 3 months during their long breaks. Come in and work in some companies in Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines that can take these interns for exposure into the work culture, business culture in our countries, to absorb and then to go back and share with their own people. And then skills training programs that can be opened up for youth from other ASEAN countries. We have our own in Malaysia, I'm sure the other countries have, so open it up, where we can then enhance the capabilities and capacities of our young in various areas of skills. And to my mind, we talk about ASEAN, but we don't have an ASEAN Day. We don't commemorate ASEAN. I don't remember. I don't know. We don't, right? When? Nobody knows. I don't know. It's so low-key that, you see, that's what I mean, you see. It's not something pervasive. So why not make the youth celebrate the ASEAN Day? It's not something that we want to talk about ASEAN. I'm saying that let's remember we have this regional entity, that already evolved. And you have an ASEAN Day that people recollect our country within ASEAN. And then learned that, we are also able to be proactive in understanding what goes on in other regional entities. It doesn't mean that Europe is a very solid, sustainable entity. They have problems in Europe too, right? UK is not in Europe as far as currency is concerned. So in other words, we have taken some of the good points of other regional entities to add on to ours. So now your turn to add on more features to that regional integration. So why not commemorate ASEAN Day in a bigger way so that we can begin next year to have full-fledged awareness of ASEAN. So ladies and gentlemen, the ASEAN community is not about forging a homogeneous ASEAN people. That's not it. But it is about creating the ASEAN-ness of the identity, branding, and also the ASEAN diversity. Now, having said that, we in ASEAN, at the practical level, don't seem to get that spirit of ASEAN strong enough. I mean, with due respect, even Malaysia and Indonesia keep squabbling about whose song belongs to whom, right? Songs, nothing fantastic, song. Lagu, we quibble over a dance. Is it my dance or your dance? Does it matter? Why not we make that our ASEAN, one of the ASEAN dances? If we have to quibble over a dance and a song, I hate to think what matters more is going to be argued endlessly. So that's what I'm trying to. Young people, avoid this excess baggage. Don't carry our excess baggage, of trying to say this is my song, your song. Please, there's no such thing. It is ASEAN. And of course, we have things like the haze, which is very common. We still can't resolve it. I'm sorry to have to say, but so young people, youth, think proactively. There are things that you must settle in terms of ASEAN issues so that the ASEAN awareness comes up. And then you relegate the domesticness of that issue second. Because if it is a cross-border issue, do that. And here, we have many issues that we need to tackle. The haze one, terrorism, cross-border terrorism. Do not take that very lightly because it's the young that's impacted. The germination of any extremist views and terrorist views are going to be planted in the young. Old people like me, 72-year-old, no point. We are ingrained in our own values. It's you who are still open to all kinds of ideas that's going to be the prime target. So the vulnerability of the ASEAN young will have to be taken into consideration. So you have to address these issues now before it becomes a serious matter. So within ASEAN, that is in the political security area. If the ministries are there, that has to be complemented by all the work of the youth. You build your own barriers and walls, your own firewall, so to speak, against the infiltration of these new-fangled elements like cross-border terrorism, cross-border extremism, and anything that divides amongst us, either domestically or amongst ASEAN peoples. Ladies and gentlemen, another area that I would like for you to focus is capacity building initiatives, which can raise the productivity, the innovativeness and competitiveness of the ASEAN workforce, because the workforce of ASEAN is the young people. And we should be able to harness relevant areas of ICT, for example, to enhance our own young skills and competence. And this should be in line with the dictates and requirements of the increasingly dynamic regional and global operating environment. We're not living in isolation. We're living in a world that has now being influenced by global economic contagion. What happens in New York, what happens in China, what happens in Europe has repercussions, direct, indirect, to your own countries. And of course to our region as a whole. We know that from 1997 financial crisis, the regional economic contagion impacted every ASEAN country. Now we have the global economic contagion where we actually almost helpless to manage or control because we are not the triggers. So the young must understand all these manifestations of the world today. It is not that you can insulate yourself, you can't. So ASEAN cannot insulate itself. So you have to work together to find out mechanisms for enhancing your competencies to be able to manage the new issues, like for example, the economic contagion. Of course, in ASEAN, we must continue to raise benchmarks of performance. This is so important amongst the young people. We shouldn't be satisfied with what we are today. Raising our benchmarks, because if you want to be the driving force, your benchmarks must be very high. So make sure that there are programs to do that, so that our ASEAN can be as competitive as, if not more competitive, than other regional entities. To me, this is so important. And of course, when the young is efficient, the young is productive and innovative, you can contribute to the overall ASEAN competitiveness. Ladies and gentlemen, it can also be emphasized that one item which I think is very important on the ASEAN socio-economic agenda is the outreach of the youth, or outreach to the youth. I would suggest that this becomes a very focused agenda. Sometimes we have too many agendas in ASEAN, and they're all just skimming the tip of the iceberg. I'd rather you focus on the youth deep, not just as Malaysia melepas tak matuk di tangga, in other words, okay, cursory youth, cursory women, cursory SMEs. No, we should go deep into discussing every area that can enable that outreach to be very effective. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that the young today of ASEAN as well have different lifestyles, have different expectations, and these are you I'm talking about. Your expectations are so far removed from mine. You are the epitome of the digital citizens, and your exposure and access to cross-border information actually can be utilized by those who are in charge of the outreach to reach out to you, and for you to reach out to those who decide, who make decisions. So ladies and gentlemen, for me, the young of ASEAN must now begin to know and feel that as the processes of ASEAN integration happens, that they have a stake in it. So it's very important that you feel that you are ASEAN, not just part of a participants in ASEAN conference, and that you must understand what being done in ASEAN will benefit you directly and indirectly, and that the integration process of the economic community and of the whole ASEAN community is really meant for you. People of previous generations have done up so many programs, really looking forward to 2015 and beyond, and you are now the beneficiaries. So on that note, I would like to urge that when you have meetings like this, you go back and rethink about what you can do at your own levels in ASEAN, so that you can effectively move the ASEAN processes forward, and not have ASEAN being stagnant because we have not found any new avenues to move forward. So on that note, thank you very much. I would rather that we have a better dialogue than I speak, because then I can understand what you want to ask and I can explain further. So thank you very much. I'll stand here.
Thank you, Tan Sri, for such an enlightening and impactful keynote speech. Let's give her another round of applause, everybody.
Thank you.
With that, now I open for Q&A session.
Yeah.
I would like, Tan Sri, we will allow for 3 questions at a time, okay?
No. One by one.
One by one,
Yeah,
okay.
it's
One
very
by
systematic, one by one. So the person asking the second question know that it's already answered.
Okay.
Then they don't ask the questions, isn't it? Otherwise, they ingat question dia yang important.
Please use the microphones that have been, I think...
Yeah, they're all there.
All there, yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, some of you got blocked by the speaker. Okay. I tell you what you need to do. So many of you just walk up to the mic. The person that I see first, I will answer to. See, I'm taking over from you already. Okay, first person, don't be shy, just go to the mic. If it's a lady, too bad for you. Come. I thought I saw a hand. See, I can't see.
Yeah,
you.
I'm here. I'm hiding
Mana
back
dia?
here.
All right, speak. There, she's spoken. Oh dear, cannot see. It's bad planning, you know. Yeah, can you imagine? The whole view, a block.
There you go.
I'm so
See me
sorry.
on the screen.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sumin. I'm part of the Canadian delegation. I have a question about the student exchange program that you mentioned.
Yes.
So, as you mentioned, the 60% of the population, the ASEAN population, is students or the youth, and I do believe personally I benefited from my study abroad during my undergrad degree, and I fully believe that students going on exchange and studying abroad is a great opportunity to foster friendship and to build network. And my question for you is, I know for Europe, for example, they have something called the Erasmus program, and that is a program that allows European countries and the students to go to another country, and it's easier for them. So they have that process going on. I'm not aware if ASEAN already has the similar process, and if not, my other question would be reciprocity. So certain countries of the ASEAN members, they have higher demand for education, and maybe those countries are, more of a priority destination, and then other countries. So how would you ensure the reciprocity of the exchange program?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we cannot have reciprocity 100% because some has capacity, some don't have the infrastructure to receive students on exchange. I'm sorry if I cannot see you, right? But you can hear me. What I would like to say is that some of us in ASEAN can be the capacity builders. Some of us can be the receivers of capacity building programs. So it's up to us to work out. I mean, if Malaysia or Indonesia or Brunei have that capacity for training for receiving student on an exchange program, so it be it. But it doesn't mean that we cannot even go to Laos or Vietnam or Cambodia. Why? Because we send our students there at our expense. And then there's a local hospitality, which is really not much. We can pay for wherever they stay, boarding and so on. Because if we're serious about our own people learning about Laos, Myanmar, Vietnam, or Cambodia, then we should be able to do that. So to expect that we send 20, they send 20, it may be too heavy, but they can send 20, maybe we sponsor for them to come, those of us able to sponsor. To me, I agree wholeheartedly. You remember when you can't remember when I was young, right? I know. When I was young, when I was a student myself, we had the American Field Service, AFS students coming every year to America. And we sent our young equivalent to America. 1 year, the AFS service, American Field Service. They came here, stayed 1 year, and stayed with so many families, depending on what the arrangement is. And our students did the same. And these were the bridges we started to build. So people of my generation are able to differentiate between American people and those who are not exactly American in the sense that they don't adhere to what American people like or want, right? These are the oddities in the society. The same here. They come here and they say, oh, at that time we still had the communists. So they're able to see the Malaysians are all not communists. The communists are in the jungle. Malaysians were all multiracial, so they appreciated. So when they go back and something is written about Malaysia that's not good, they are the first to comment, to say, that's not true, I was there. The same with Americans, Malaysians who went to America. Somebody brands an American for something, the bad, the ugly. Our Malaysian will say, that's not true. You're picking 10 people out of the multi-millions. So that's why I believe we have to start with the young. Old people like me going overseas have ingrained ideas. It's just, for me it wouldn't be because I started going overseas young. My work started very young. So that it has to begin with the young. And to me, the exchange program, student exchange program is very important. Secondly, that internship, private sector, please sponsor young people who are studying university during a long vacation. Take them in, expose them to the youth in our country, to the way our business culture is, so that they have a better understanding and not just read what is written about us, or we read what's written about them, their country. They see for real what we are about. We mean not just Malaysian, I'm talking about we ASEAN is all about. Yeah? Okay, yes. Any more questions? Oh, we have a lot of time, you know. Tadi? Yes.
Good morning.
Oh, you have to start talking because I thought you were one of the ushers. Okay, never mind. He started.
Okay, good evening, Tan Sri.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned about like being ASEAN, we have to be in the driver's seat in terms of pushing agenda and reform.
Yeah.
Well,
driving seat for any extra ASEAN agenda.
okay,
Yeah, when dealing with outsiders of ASEAN, yeah.
outsiders. Okay. Within your experience in serving as ASEAN members, what was the biggest challenges you faced? Was it coming from the external, and what nature was it? Okay, that was the first question. Next, second question, fast forward. When it comes to our generation, what would be the challenges that we will be facing as ASEAN?
Yeah. Oh, considering that we're all human beings, right? We know there are many differences, but we came to a consensus. That is, one, whatever we do in ASEAN, they should be doables. Doables, can be done. So, secondly, it should be deliverable. In other words, we can show what we are doing, there's a result. Doables and deliverables were the hallmark of what we did in ASEAN. In any program, until I retired lah. You know, now I don't know, I don't keep track so much what they do. But I'm saying is that doables and deliverables. So that really levels the playing field, so to speak. Because if it's doable, it means that all of us can do. And if 2 or 3 cannot do, then we have the 10 minus X principle. We give you a longer time frame to commit and to implement. We give you some better thresholds to operate with. So, because we know not everybody can do at the same time, at the same level. So, the doables and deliverables, important. Then we have that caveat. It is 10 minus X. In terms of time frame, in terms of level of commitment, and so on. So, as a result, it becomes a practical thing. We must go beyond motherhood statements. You know, I do not think we in 2050. I hope nobody has said this anywhere, right? Today, mana? No, what KJ? No, not KJ. I'm not saying what KJ. I wasn't thinking of KJ as said. I hope that nobody has mentioned since we started this meeting, this conference, the word political will. Banish this word from ASEAN. Don't tell me how many years, 40 years, ASEAN? We still don't have the political will. We keep talking about political will. Stop it. Otherwise, ASEAN wouldn't be where it is now if we didn't have the political will, right? It's just that we have some practical problems, capacity problems, legal structure, legal framework, not the same. Frameworks that govern businesses, not the same everywhere. Framework that governs the rules and regulations, not the same everywhere. So these are the constraints that do not allow some sectors to be liberalized together with the rest in some countries. So we must therefore be realistic. So the political will is there. So I hope none of you repeat these 2 words, political will. These 2 words are so abused, you're almost killing them. Yeah, I know. The other day I was at a TV panel. Oh yeah, not TV panel. Yeah, the panel are 2 people. You know, political will. I say, oh gosh, not again. We tell the world we don't have political. We do, except that we are realistic people. We recognize the different levels of development. We recognize the different levels of capacities. We recognize the shortcomings of domestic economies. We recognize the contagion effect, which can actually sabotage or rather derail our ASEAN objectives. Yeah? So, driving seat doables and deliverables. Thank you.
Hi.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Tan Sri.
Oh, there's a queue there. Good.
Okay. Firstly, I would like to pay tribute to Tan Sri, such an amazing woman. And okay, speaking about ASEAN, just a brief introduction before I forward my question. Being founded in 1967 and chartered in 2008, we also have a population of 625 million people. Now, my question is this. In terms of relevance and in terms of image of ASEAN, you see, the European Union is a bloc, similarly to how ASEAN is also a regional bloc.
Yeah.
Now, how long would it take for ASEAN to be at the status or at the stature of something like the European Union? Also, how can we portray ASEAN to be bigger than the individual members, say for us, in terms of bringing investors, bringing people to be part of ASEAN, then them being involved with directly towards the member countries rather than just the bloc itself. So how do we prevent that, as in being directly involved with ASEAN rather than just the member countries?
Thank you.
So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You're talking about EU. Let me tell you how we started doing this ASEAN community bit in the ASEAN economic area. We had a format drawn, a matrix, where we itemize all that the EU is all about. Actually, EU was the one we referred to basically. And we had a column in terms of political governance, economic governance, blah, 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 blah. And we do a tick. Literally, the ministers did a tick, what we think we should have. This one, no. ASEAN Parliament, no. Why? Because we have monarchies, we have different political governance. Let's not have unnecessary problems. So, Parliament, no. Currency, very cherry, right? We didn't put a tick or a name, depending. And there are so many things we can copy. One passport or whatever. So what we did was the doables and deliverables. So we were not striving, and should never strive to be a Europe. Why? Why should we want to be a Europe? We should just be ASEAN. Take some of the good characteristics of Europe, what they have done that's successful, well, we emulate. But what they have done that's failing, don't do it. Right? So we don't want to copy anybody. And we don't want to portray ASEAN as anything. Let's be ASEAN. The worst thing to do is to portray ourselves as something that we are not. That's what I said. Let's forge the ASEAN identity. Let's forge the ASEAN branding so that we know that branding has integrity to it. Yeah? So it's now your turn, all of you youth, to do that. When they talk about ASEAN, it's high quality products and services. When they talk about ASEAN, it's a workforce that's very efficient, short learning curve. When they talk about ASEAN, it's about young people who can go to the global market. So that's how we should be, not portray. We should be. So think ASEAN. And you begin to think ASEAN, then you do those ticking off of what we should be doing. Yeah? Okay?
From the far left.
Yeah. Where's the other one?
That's
there.
this side.
Yes. I will do like that in turn. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm Catherine from Myanmar, and I would like to know about ASEAN Economic Community. All the ASEAN countries are trying to implement the ASEAN Economic Community in 2015. And I would like to know that is there any disadvantage and advantage for the local company? If it is after implementation, a lot of products and the services are coming to our each country. So I think there will be a lot of competitive and I would like to know that is there any benefits for the local company? And I think is there what kind of we need to prepare for our local company?
Yeah.
So AEC.
Yep. Well, when we evolved that a long time ago, we, as I've said, applied the 10 minus X principle. The CLMV countries, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar, we had special treatment. For example, the opening up of markets, the abolition of tariffs or the reduction of tariffs, you were given longer time frames to complete all your obligations. And surprisingly, not only the CLMV countries undertook to do what they committed, they did it faster. So that was a surprise as far as we're concerned. Like for example, it should have been done in 2008, they did it already in 2007 or 2006. In other words, given that motivation to take advantage of the bigger market and the ability to offer themselves as a production base for ASEAN, they were willing to open up and liberalize. So it's up to decision makers to see where the advantages. There will be costs, come on. Costs even for Malaysia, there will be costs. Why? We open up our market, competition comes in. But what is more important? That little competition that comes in from our neighbors, or the access that we can have not only to the ASEAN market, but operating in ASEAN for the global market. Malaysians operating in Myanmar for the global market. Because we can't afford to have the cost competitiveness that you provide, because we are already a high-cost country in a sense, relating to you or Laos and Cambodia. So it's better for our Malaysians to be in Myanmar or Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, because where costs are relatively cheaper. But if the youth, the workforce are efficient, better still. Learning curve is very short. They hit the ground running. So if we think ASEAN, then you do not see yourself as being, hard-pressed for competition, by competition. So that's what the thinking was before. And it should be the same now. I remember Myanmar, when we first started, you had 6 exchange rates. Yes, she's confirming it. My private sector that I took as delegation was very upset. Which one do we use? I spoke to David Abel, the minister then. You have to do the formal structure. You can have 6 exchange rates. People can do business. So now you have a better formulated, right? Exchange rate regime.
But, it's I think a big company were coming into the local. So I think a small company will be going down at the time.
Small companies?
Yeah, because
that happens everywhere.
Yeah.
The small companies, some cannot go cross-border, they're domestic. But I do believe eventually even the small companies will start rethinking business strategies to become bigger. Unless you are really dedicated to just serving the small market inside the country. That's why I said, if they think ASEAN, then the opportunities are seen, right? And when you talk about thinking ASEAN, it means that thinking the broader picture, not just our little country. That was what we wanted ASEAN to understand. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm talking just now about us thinking about our own country. I would like to recall what happened when I was when we were trying to promote ASEAN when we first started ASEAN Free Trade Area. So I was tasked to lead a delegation of 9 ministers from ASEAN to go to Japan, because Japan was the biggest investor outbound, those days. So we wanted them to come to ASEAN. So I went to Tokyo, met the high-level Skydendron, there's the highest level of business people there. To my great horror, I was the only one talking ASEAN. My other colleagues was talking about his own country. There were no her, I was the only her. His own country. And the chief of Skydendron, president, asked me, Minister, why is it that your colleagues are only talking about their own country? How is it that they're not even mentioning ASEAN? So the next meeting I mentioned, this is not the way to go. This is an ASEAN delegation. Don't leave it to me to talk about ASEAN. You must also tell the Japanese, come to Myanmar, come to Laos, put your base there, your production base there, because we have the workforce. Our labor is cheaper than Singapore. In other words, we won't take that kind of investment. Garments industry, we're no longer competitive, so you should, but you're not even marketing it in the context of ASEAN. If we kept talking about Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam, they say, what do we have there? But if you see it, come to Myanmar, come to Laos, it can be the base of the industries that Malaysia cannot host anymore because they're no longer competitive. Of course, Singapore don't talk. Yeah? So then you see, the people who see ASEAN, okay, we don't have to go out of ASEAN. We still retain the ASEAN footprint, but expanding in Myanmar, Laos, and Vietnam. That was my worst lesson ever about not thinking ASEAN. I hope everybody now is thinking ASEAN. Lah. Go and ask your ministers when you go back. Okay, next question.
Hi, my name is Tierchen, over here in the middle.
Oh, there you are. I'm looking for
right in front of you. So I'm from Singapore, and my question was more about what you talked about the ASEAN identity. So what does the ASEAN identity mean to you personally?
Actually, for me, the ASEAN identity is not very difficult because there's so many similarities amongst us, especially Singapore, Malaysia, right? We talk about the same.
Yeah.
Well, so we can now forge briefly. There are similarities that make us stand out, like Europeans, they're all white. So we physiologically easy to present as ASEAN. I have been passed off as a Myanmarese, as a Filipino, as a Thai. Thais are very fair, but they still think I'm Thai. They speak Thai to me. So it's easy for us to be ASEAN, right? But that doesn't mean that's already enough. There are many other things that must follow through, right? In other words, understanding that we have a diverse cultures and not quarrel, as I said, about whose song and dance it is. And then we can present the ASEAN cuisine, which is actually almost the same. You name it by other names. So in other words, ASEAN has more homogeneity as an entity than we realize. So it's time that somebody, maybe the culture ministry or whatever, try and do this together with the other stakeholders so that the world will see what is ASEAN. There is similarities first. And then secondly, go to the economic aspects. Talk about the ASEAN Free Trade Area. And I'm saying we have different capacities. So if we are able to build the capacities of our workforce up to a higher level, then the ASEAN identity is about a production base that's highly competitive. And if we raise income levels in ASEAN, the 600 million plus population is a dynamic market. It's no point telling us or telling everybody, we have 600 million people. Poor people, what's the point? So that's why in the ASEAN vision, narrowing developmental gaps, narrowing between rural and urban areas, the income disparity, so that by all the programs that we can draw up and implement, it will result in overall enhancement of income levels, so that that becomes disposable incomes. Then we realize the dynamic market. It's no point having 1.2 billion in China, let's say 20 years ago. It's the same Chinese, 104 billion, but nobody talked about them being market, right? No income. They started opening up the economy. Then you have people with disposable incomes. Now it is the market of the world. All happened in less than 20 years. I went to China before, just after Mao Zedong died. And I've been going to China, and you can imagine the evolution of China is unbelievable. From everybody wearing grey and blue, including the ladies, they phased out into wearing pink ribbons, still with the Mao jackets, and into what you see today. Why can't we do that in ASEAN? But we have to have planning, proper planning, where domestic planning is dovetailed with ASEAN planning, if we are really serious about the ASEAN people. Okay?
Yeah, and I had a second part to that question. So with this identity, right, and you spoke about outreach, the importance of youth outreach, how do we reach out to all stratas of society, not just, the political spheres and the economic spheres that are most impacted by ASEAN now, but really, especially amplifying that youth voice to reach out and to get everyone aligned to this shared identity?
Not amplifying the youth voice, amplifying the ASEAN voice. To the youth, to the women, to the retailers on the ground, to society at large. It has to be done simultaneously, And there are so many organizations, departments, ministries that can be roped in to do this outreach exercise. Of course, through the civil service structure, it's there already, provided they have an ASEAN agenda. But in the non-formal structure, it's even much easier. You're not constrained by rules and regulations. So you have little programs back in the village somewhere, in our own countries, of course, Singapore, no village, but still, not every Singaporean understands ASEAN, right? I don't think so. So, in one housing community, Jurong or somewhere, you have an ASEAN program. Invite some of the... That's how we start. And you repeat that often enough, the ASEAN thinking stays in your mind. It becomes part and parcel of your culture already. It cannot happen overnight, mind you. We have come here 2015, I grew grey in my 21 years in the ministry alone. And this is where we are at. So I don't think you need 21 years to reach where we are. You need maybe 5 years to leapfrog, to do double, triple what we have done. Okay? Yeah, anybody? Then I go back there.
Here first.
Mana?
Yes.
Nanti, tadi can I go there and then macam ni?
My question is related to lady first.
What is that?
I just
Okay,
want
defer
add-
to the lady.
Yeah, thank you so much. I would love to add one question to the previous questions. By the way, my name is Grace from Korea. So you talked about the outreach to the youth in ASEAN, but you also mentioned about different social status. Do you think all those
Differentiation of?
social status, like
Not
poor and
status.
rich?
Socio-economic development.
Socio-economic
There's no status in
development.
ASEAN. Socio-economic development levels.
So, okay, so if you consider the rural society community there, the problems they're facing right now is not about education, it's more about inequality and poverty. Do you think ASEAN is really important to them?
That's what I mean. If we go beyond just domestic levels, there are already in place some programs, which is intra-ASEAN, that can see the benefits transferring to the lower levels of society. For example, if you have ASEAN conglomerates of physical infrastructure constructors, companies, and they build all the network into rural villages in all ASEAN countries that don't have the infrastructure, road network. That's the first start. When the roads come, you tell them, this road is an ASEAN project to start with. Electrification, share resources to electrify some of the areas in ASEAN that could actually benefit from having the physical infrastructure in place. You switch on the light, you just tell them, this is an ASEAN project. You see, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive. It can be dovetailed. But we haven't done that yet. Time to do it. Time to do it. Because even with the RCEP countries, which is our neighbors, China, Japan, Korea, we actually have this connectivity of physical infrastructure in the plan. Everything is in the plan. Blue print, green print, I don't know what color print now. So somebody somewhere must now sit down and look at all those very viable plans and get it moving. The Chinese have come up with this new bank, correct? For infrastructure. See? They don't just talk, they do it. And of course they say it's to rival this. No, there's nothing about rivaling. It is to cater for the development needs of this region. Why don't we latch on to that? Then people will say, oh, this is ASEAN road, is it? Then they get interested because they've never had a road before, never had electricity before, they never had good water supply before. They were taking it from the river and from the pond or whatever, lake. Now it's on tap. So the moment that comes in as an ASEAN project, not to have 10 countries coming in, but the ones who can afford to put it in, right? Together with some package of financing from the other organizations that I talked about. It can be done. So we have to start now because we worry about the developmental gap. I agree entirely with you. Who cares about ASEAN when I'm still eking out a living? So to raise income levels in ASEAN, you must have the basic infrastructure, first the physical, complemented by the non-physical. Then we will see things moving, changing. Okay, next one, here. Abis. Oh yeah, she has, okay, yes, your turn.
Assalamualaikum Tan Sri. My name is Ashraf. I'm from Malaysian Youth Parliament. Just now you mentioned that we don't have a parliament system in the whole region. I mean, ASEAN.
No, we don't have an ASEAN parliament.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. We have EU, but in the Bangkok Declaration, there's a non-intervention policy as well. So I just want to know what sort of mechanism that we use to ensure the security of our countries within ASEAN, and so that the ASEAN itself will look like as a one solid union in the eyes of the world.
I don't want the word look like. I don't want the word portray. We're not about image building, in ASEAN. We're about building a real ASEAN. Please, the words are very important to me. Look like when it's not. Portray when it's not. That's not what ASEAN is all about. Enough of that already. This is about building a realistic ASEAN community. Yeah?
That's why I was asking them the mechanism of security.
Then I have to sit here for the next day to talk to you because I spent 21 years of my life, discussing this year in, year out. Enough to say we have adequate experience of what can happen, what cannot happen. We have enough experience to know what our capacity levels are to implement some of those programs, right? So when we talk about security, we have the mechanism in the ASEAN Security Forum, which we have, to talk about this very seriously. Not just talk at ministerial level, at the generals level, but also to make sure that it gets translated into border activities. You know what I mean? Where it happens. Border checkpoints, border surveillance, border monitoring. Talk about cross-border terrorism. It doesn't happen in KL, no, it happens our border. So, how does the mechanism filter down rather, if you talk about security? And then there is other forms of security which is external, like why are we continuing to fight over those islands? Why? Why don't we really solve it altogether? Like Malaysia and Thailand, for years we were fighting over border areas, resources. So we said, okay, we have joint development authority. Because the fight will go on. I claim, you claim, I claim, you claim. In the end, we don't get it. The whole reef will be submerged by ocean, with global warming. All you need is a 3-meter wave to come and submerge everything, end of story. Keep on fighting. So solve it in some proactive way that mutually beneficial. That's the way the leaders should think now. Okay?
Thanks.
Okay, here.
Here.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Premika from the Singapore delegation. So I'd like to ask you a little bit more about the ASEAN's leadership model, trying to understand how it works. So because this it consists of 10 countries, so I was wondering if when you guys organize meetings and stuff, is it like one particular country would head the meeting all the time, or is it going to be alternate countries?
Or rotation.
Okay, if that's the case, right, I was just wondering if ASEAN actually has like some sort of advisory panel or to keep ASEAN in check, basically. So in the event when we have conflicts, we have some sort of regional instability, or if some country tries to impose their self-interest or national interest on ASEAN's agenda, is there some sort of advisory panel made up of ASEAN plus or non-ASEAN countries to actually keep us in check?
No, we don't have any yet, as far as I know. But we have the ASEAN Secretariat that should be monitoring this. Since there are 3 pillars, so the Secretariat should now begin to restructure itself to monitor the implementation of the 3 pillars. But as I've said, in the past, it's so driven by the economic pillar, they forget about the other 2. So I would suggest in the ASEAN Secretariat, pay as much attention now to political and security pillar as also socio-cultural. It has to come from there, because that's where everything is galvanized. ASEAN Secretariat, to my mind. It's not about documentation, It's not about organizing meetings. It is about following through on a daily basis, all these things are happening. Because the world is so dynamic, we cannot, lapse. Even one day, be allowed to lapse one day. That's how serious it is, right? As we talk, we do not know what has happened in US or America or China that causes economic contagion tomorrow. So we have to be on our toes. The Secretariat must be a dynamic secretariat.
But who makes up this ASEAN Secretariat?
Who?
Who makes up the ASEAN Secretariat?
Well, at the moment, I tell you what, ASEAN used to always end every meeting of every department or ministry with, the meeting was conducted in the most cordial and friendly manner, until I came to the picture, because we had been arguing for days. And I said, excuse me, this report of this meeting shall no longer from now on have this stupid paragraph that says spirit of cordiality and friendship and whatnot. Let's not kid ourselves. We have outstanding problems that we cannot. So let's be realistic. And from that day onwards, you find the minister's report. I don't know if they would have started it again. No more cordiality talk. Be realistic. If you cannot be cordial about it, shout. Please, no time. No time just to, okay, tak papa. Not me. So we got things done. I couldn't care less. If I was in the chair, I'll just tell off the Europeans. They didn't want Myanmar to be in the European ASEAN because of Myanmar's problems with democracy. And I tell them, okay, you don't want? Press conference waiting. I will announce to the world, the European Union is being political. We are in an economic forum and you are being political. Would you like me to announce that as the chair of the meeting? And of course, the European Commissioner could not answer. Think about it. Now, I told him, think about it. I have no hesitation telling the world. We united in ASEAN. We do not quibble over Myanmar's democracy policies when we are discussing economics. We're discussing business. It's in the same breath as the whole world looking down on China. When China had all these democracy problems after Tiananmen, you remember? Every foreigner left China. Would you know that I was the first foreigner to come in? Everybody said, everybody getting out, you're coming in with 40 people? I said, yeah, it's planned. How was I to know it was Tiananmen? Anyway, I'm not there to interfere into their internal affairs. We're there to do business. As a result, Malaysia, not me lah, Malaysia was treated with that kind of respect because we didn't interfere. Say, you want to do what you like. That's no good, but not for me to say. We want to look at economic opportunities. Then China opened up its market. The same idiots, sorry my language, who were chastising the Chinese for a lack of democracy, human rights, came groveling to the Chinese for a piece of the Chinese pie. Did you realize that? The same guys who were belittling the Chinese for lack of democracy were waiting in line to shake their hands. Why? The market of China. See, all it takes is China change a policy into what they call it partial market economy. Now it's full market economy lah. All it takes is that. And the same guy who was bad-mouthing the Chinese, groveling. I use this in Europe and America. You grovel to them. You forgot about what you were talking about in terms of democracy. So we in ASEAN, we prefer not to mix up things, Be realistic. Okay?
Okay, to the far right, Tan Sri.
Okay, thank you.
Where are you?
The far right.
I'm here.
Mana?
I'm here.
You see, when you're behind this, macam mana, but I tell you, any more speaker after me, please shift this back. Frustrating for her or him. I think there's no her now. Move it. Okay.
Okay.
Take note.
Tan Sri, to make it the situation more easier, I just want to say that you are 72 years old but looks like 50 years old.
Tak dengar. I can't hear. What's that?
You are 70 years old but looks like 50 years old.
I'm 72.
Oh yeah, that's why. So
I think 50.
the thing is, I am just 24 years old. That while you have the 21 experience in ASEAN. Wow, awesome. No, I think this is the way they treat
Go
you.
straight forward to the question, please.
Okay, the thing is, sorry, because I want to make it melting. So the thing is, we are here now to the forum of ASEAN Young Leaders Summit. Is how about learning an ASEAN? I believe some of another people who came from Canada, Korea, Japan, or anyone. But I feeling like, why we are an ASEAN but still using English language?
Using what?
English. Yep.
Yeah, why not?
So the thing is, I'm as a part of ASEAN feeling like, God, why don't we having our ASEAN languages?
ASEAN language?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, let's not. Oh, we want English, if possible, to be the universal language of ASEAN. Please, don't go there. We have enough problems. Esperanto, when I was young, we had Esperanto, we had F language, we created our own. Didn't get anywhere.
So which means that you believe that English is still the global language for us all in.
Of course. Of course. Want to create a new language? Oh my.
No, I mean, because just last night I went back from Vietnam to here. The thing is, very hard for me living in Vietnam without people know the English language. So as an ASEAN, like you have mentioned in the European, like they have their own language, English. Absolutely, yeah.
But they speak English.
Yup, I think so. That's the problem now. Yeah. Why don't we having our own language as an ASEAN, as the revolution? I do. Why not?
Let's be practical about it. Maybe your grandchildren's generation might evolve it lah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hello.
Let's talk about two. Doable and deliverable. Not dreams. Okay? You said about can dream and all that. In ASEAN, let it not be a dream. Let it be a practical thing. If you are in the process of dreaming, you will die. Okay, all right. Next one.
Excuse me, my question is quite related to him.
That's your trick. Ni tadi related.
I'm very sorry.
Okay.
Right, okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, Tan Sri. I'm Nurai Rusma. I'm from Malaysia. And actually, my question is based on the proposal that you made about the student exchange, which is based on my own personal experience. Last May, I went to Sengkla. In Thailand, and I visit Prince of Songkla University, which have a very excellent facilities. They have a lot of everything there. They have biodiesel agriculture, and they mentioned that they don't have any Malaysian students there. And I think that I would like to go there to continue my degree, but the opportunity that arises is I asked whether they have a transition program, because most of them doesn't commute in English.
It's all in Thai lah. Macam kita, our university sometimes Malay. No?
Yes. So I would like to ask for Asian initiative to focus on the opportunity that is I will say the most basic, that the use of English, because Alhamdulillah in Malaysia we can commute. Our command in English is
Okay lah. Okay.
Alright.
Okay lah.
But the rest of the Asian countries, how about the initiative to?
No, again, this is capacity building.
Yes.
We need to identify what are the factors that enhance our own capacity to communicate, to do things, to interact with each other, interact with the world. To my mind, first communication. And therefore, the common factor would be language.
Yeah.
So to my mind, the easiest would be English. We cannot go down to a level of an ASEAN country and try to learn Vietnamese, try to learn Bahasa, try to learn whatever.
And
right?
that's why I would like to ask for Asian initiative. Why not we made a program that, yes.
Correct. If you were to ask me, if I were lecturing now, all those would come in lah. But I'm given only such a short period to talk, kan? So I talk about capacity building. Again, enhancement of our communication skills intra-ASEAN. I agree entirely with you. So now, let them know, those decision makers, let them know this is one program that you must pursue.
Thank you very much.
Right? I agree.
Thank you so much. To the far left. Please be short and precise with the questions. We have 10 minutes left.
Right.
10 minutes left.
Yeah, 10 minutes, correct.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I
right.
can.
Hi, Tan Sri Rafidah. I'm Wei Meng from Malaysia. This is my question. I believe that science and innovation have been playing critical roles in leveraging the nation's economic competitiveness and social status of the nation.
Yep.
So, and YB Khairi Jamaluddin had also pointed out that if ASEAN, the members of ASEAN can be as a nation, we could be one of the number one in the resource. But in fact, with this much of resources in ASEAN, we are only the great exporters, but we are not turning these resources into a high-level technology. So, especially in China, one of the reasons that they have transformed so fast within 30 months is that they put emphasis in manufacturing and research. And so I'm wondering, are there any ASEAN initiatives that we can collaboratively utilize the resources and also the talents, especially youths like us, to actually not just being the exporters of the resources, but also the key players in high-level technology?
Yeah, I entirely agree with you, because all of our countries for the future will be driven by innovation. In fact, Malaysia, as an example, we want to be a developed country by the year 2020. And a developed country, by definition, is a country in the third stage of development, which is innovation-driven, no longer productivity or efficiency-driven. That's passé. So, to be innovation-driven, who's going to innovate? Not the government as such, but the people who make up the workforce, the talents, the brains, mostly young people. So, that's how we should focus on innovation. Not trying to reinvent the wheel, but trying to progressively, it could be incrementals, but innovation that adds on to efficiency of production processes, adds on to high quality of products, high quality of services, and of course, sustainable development. For ASEAN, please, the word for the future is sustainable development. We cannot develop the way we were before. We cannot have, hills being chopped off, deltas being filled up with all kinds of rubbish in other countries. So, sustainable development is the ASEAN of the future. So, our innovation must be driven to that. Innovation that inputs into manufacturing, that inputs to any area of production, but the background, sustainable development. I agree entirely. So, there must be a program for creating innovativeness in ASEAN. It has to be done by the centers of excellence in each country. We have our CIRIM. We have the Academy of Sciences in Malaysia. I don't know about the other countries, so let them get together and formulate this ASEAN innovation program in key areas. Not every area is not possible. Tomorrow, I'm talking about innovation civil service, so they have to start.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Ya, tak apalah, bagilah chance semua orang. Let them have a chance, they're standing up there. Okay.
Hello, thank you for your speech. I'm Claire from Canada.
Yep.
You mentioned about skills development program as part of your proposal.
Sorry, what program?
Skills development programs.
Skills development,
yeah.
sorry.
So I was just wondering.
You're too close to the mic.
I was wondering which skills you find are the most crucial in driving this region forward.
Let me see. There is no template because we are having different economic profiles. So it is, and on an ASEAN basis, it is important to be able to slot in for each country that's relevant for which skills. There's some countries that can input into the kind of development that relevant to the level of skills that they have. So we continue to enhance. Like Singapore, agriculture is not there. Any resource base is not there forte. So their skills of different level. Malaysia is a mixture, as also some of the neighbors. So it cannot be a one template. It has to be really thought of that can be slotted in to each ASEAN member country. So that it's relevant. The skills are relevant, market relevant, and also relevant to what's required by the environment. Yeah? No one template. That's not possible.
I was just wondering, which kind of specific skills that you would recommend for the youth to gain.
I'm sorry, what is that? You're not too near. Please don't too near. Yeah.
Yeah.
There?
I was wondering about the specific skills that the youth can acquire during their studies that would be useful.
Yeah. Well, let me put it this way. When we talk about skills, it's over and above what you qualify in. Yesterday I was talking to University Utara, where some people think about the qualification, paper qualification is enough. It's not enough. Employers are looking for skills relevant to what industry you want to enter. I'm chairman of airline industry. When you interview people, you expect the guy who may be first class in business admin to understand what the industry that has got to do with airlines is all about. So in other words, it's a skill of understanding what, no, don't. I don't want to bathe. That's okay. You make me lose my track of mind. So, skills relevant to what you want to do. You give me such a short time to explain all this. For example, skills that's based on ICT. ICT, to help you enhance whatever it is you want to go into. You want to go into business management, you want to go into entrepreneurship, you want to go into whatever area of business. ICT is a skills enhancer that you can get. And then there are mechanisms within the government sector, within the private sector, that can help you to also enhance your skills if you choose certain areas of endeavor. I mean, to me, skills are very broad-based. Very easy to talk about technical skills, You go to workshop, how to do this, electronics, easy. But some skills now are soft skills. Got to do with the brains. Formulation, solutions providers, applications formulation, right? Systems establishment for industries, programs. Those are skills. You may be a business admin graduate, but you specialize in this new area. Enhance your skills. So you know how to manage business, at the same time you know how to formulate applications or to first use the application, then maybe enhance and enrich the application. So that's how I see skills. It's a broad base, but at the same time relevant to what sector. Okay? All right? Thank you. Next one.
My name is Paulus from Indonesia.
Yep.
I'm interested with your opinion about the internship program. In our opinion, if in internship program we hope that will be done by the private sector without the regulation, I think it will be useless on dream. And our opinion is, how about we can regulate it in social corporate responsibility obligation, such as
as part of CSR.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Is it possible, or I think it's one of the
No, I am
dreams that
against regulating things like this. You know, the private sector should know better how to do things.
Yeah, sure.
But the government, of each government, can facilitate. For example, if you have a tax policy that allows some deductions to be made, some allowances to be given for money or expenditure that you spend on bringing in interns from ASEAN countries, that's an incentive, correct? You spent $1 million bringing in how many, 20 people for the year or whatever, then it's a write-off somewhere. That alone is good enough for the private sector. Their burden is lightened, and the government doesn't have to really pay out. It's just that you don't collect. Don't regulate. I mean, come on. I mean, more regulations will mean limited flow. But the regulation should be criteria, like you must have a passport, right? Things like that. No, you must have the university or whatever it is endorsing you to come and work for your summer vacation, or I wouldn't say summer, but for your long-term vacation. Yeah, we've done that before, but a private sector. I used to be the chairman of Malaysia-Europe Forum. We brought in 22 people from Germany, from France, and so on to come and work with all the companies. They were very well received, 6 months, and they work and send them out to their branches. You know, it can be done. But if it's an ASEAN project, you can imagine it's replicated. How many times, how many people, young people, can both get experience as well as learn? Yep. So not regulation, but facilitate and incentivize. Thank you.
To the far right.
Yes, next one. Okay, where?
Hi.
Sana ada. Oh, there. I tell you what, you are so hidden. Come here lah. Sian. I can't see you. I can't see you, then I can't hear you properly. Never mind. If you want to talk, I'll stand up.
I will just ask it here.
No, bring the mic.
Bring the mic. Bring the mic.
Not the stand. The mic.
Hi, I'm Cherry. I'm from
bring the mic here.
Bring it there. Okay.
No, just the top of the mic.
Okay. Oh, all right. I got you.
Right. You see, politicians can do that, but non-politicians, one day you learn. All right. Yeah. Okay. Boleh?
Is it better here?
Oh, you can. All right.
This is better. Okay. Hi. So my question is regarding, you spoke earlier of...
Where are you from?
I'm from Canada. You spoke earlier of economic integration as a primary driver of ASEAN in the past, and how it'll hopefully create positive spillovers in the other 2 pillars. So my question is, how can ASEAN strategically and effectively reconcile any contradictions or trade-offs between the priorities of the 3 pillars? For instance, you talked about sustainable development and environmental sustainability, specifically in the socio-cultural pillar. But it's often seen that expansion of certain industrial sectors or existing sectors have negative environmental externalities. So how can we, in terms of creating innovation, transition away from these sectors, or how do you see these pillars being able to work together?
Actually, I don't see anything that's mutually exclusive between the 3 pillars and sustainability. To my mind, all the 3 pillars should be within the framework of sustainable development of ASEAN. And we can identify what sustainable development means. It is really going back to the people's benefit. If you look at the definition of sustainability, it is really what you do in business, what you do as governments that actually bring real benefits to the people. That's what sustainable means. And not only people of this generation, but future generations. In essence, that's what sustainability means. So in ASEAN, it's not mutually exclusive. It should pass or dovetailed into overall development.
But strategically, how would you reconcile, like, say...
Well, let me put it this way. Learn from some of the countries that have gone through some of these processes where they have some more costs and benefits, right? as a result of not doing things sustainably. And of course, meeting of the minds, get together. That's why we have departments of environment, think, and then hand over to the government's decision makers. How you plan urbanization, how do you plan to bring up physical infrastructure in rural areas that do not harm the environment for the future generations. It can be done because we learn from people's mistakes. So in ASEAN, this learning process can help us to have a sustainable development over the long term in ASEAN. It's not mutually exclusive. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Tan Sri, it's already 1 o'clock.
I know those who are standing up, we give answer.
Yeah, we're going to finish.
Tak apalah.
Bagi dia orang habis soalan lah.
Yes.
Okay, the last 5.
Hello, I'm Tu from Cambodia, and I'm also an intern in
No
IYC
more standing
Malaysia.
up, no more standing up, that's all. Yeah.
Again? I'm Tu from Cambodia and also an intern from IYC Malaysia. I would like to...
Not so close.
Not so close?
Ah.
The mic, not so close.
Your
to
mic, not so close. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I would like.
You hold it further away from you. Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
I would like to ask you a question about my country, Cambodia. As you know that Cambodia is a developing country and not many sectors are good. So in your mind, what do you think about Cambodia? And do you have any idea about the improvement of youth development in my country? Because as you know, youth is a key factor to develop countries.
Yeah,
thank you.
I went to Konkan, I was very impressed. And then I suggested, why don't you improve this, that, and the other? And my colleague, the minister, said, this whole area is a World UNESCO Heritage. We can't touch. I said, what? You can't even expand the road? You see? So there's so much room for development in Cambodia. There's some constraints like that. I thought, you have World Heritage, you are allowed to improve upon it. Here the road is so small, you're going to have problems, right, Konkan? You know that, right? So how are you going to develop that area into tourism when you can't really build infrastructure? So Cambodia, to my mind, has a lot going for it. I've been there several times. And part of the sharing process of our experience in ASEAN will help you.
Thank you.
By the way, I played golf with Hun Sen.
Okay, yes.
Hello.
Yep. Sini, habis. Last one and we go this way. Okay.
Okay.
Hi guys, I'm Josh.
From where?
I'm from Malaysia.
Okay.
So this is the first ever time that I'm, attending a government-hosted event. I think we have all been very serious here. We've been talking about business and so on. I'm a tech entrepreneur myself, okay? But my question, and I'm constantly surrounded by founders, right? Just to give a background. And I think what is very important is that we forget that we are human beings. And what is important is a social element. We haven't spoken a lot about that. So, just throwing some ideas, like if we want to foster a greater ASEAN culture, perhaps we should organize like a ASEAN-wide party or something like that for young people,
What?
right?
ASEAN what?
ASEAN-wide party.
Party?
Yeah.
Why party?
Get people to mingle
You don't have
with
to
each other,
ASEAN
right?
wide. At your own level, you can have your party. No problem.
Why don't we have a government-hosted party?
Governments are not in the business of partying.
Let's make government sexy.
No.
Let's make government cool.
No. Don't talk to me about that. If governments go into the party business, we're all dead. No.
Or maybe it could be different.
Well, the private sector can have their party programs. No problem. Your money. But don't spend public money on partying, all right?
Think about it, guys.
No. No need to
Okay,
think.
next. Yes.
No. Sorry. I'm a very, very practical person. Party is the last on my mind. Maybe I'm old. But even when I was young, party separate. This is ASEAN. When you are successful, you can have a party. But we are still a long way ahead,
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. I cut you short there because no point.
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm from Cambodia. First of all, I'd like to give a big round of applause to Malaysian government to host this very beautiful summit. It is amazing that all of the youth together, I think probably this is the first time that we get together and to not only attend the ceremony, but we come here to be heard. And I have a very short question, and it could be very naive.
You're from where just now?
Cambodia.
Cambodia, yeah.
It could be very naive, but I agree with Minister Kerry that we should come here to not just sit, but we should talk and be heard by others.
Yes.
To me, I still feel that ASEAN community is more beneficial to the more developing, the more high-level economic countries. Do you think ASEAN have done enough to help other countries in ASEAN who are in need? For example, some parts of ASEAN still have no idea about what's going on about ASEAN community because they are still struggling really hard on like rural sanitation. They don't have latrines yet. They still strive very hard on like gender equality and sort of stuff. And to me, ASEAN is not only does not only become the ASEAN community on the date of December 31st, 2015, because it's not the day that we will fire the fireworks and we celebrate, because we have been friends to each other since a long time ago, so it has been doing. However, I don't really see a lot of going on, like the high level of the economic countries that have been helping the other countries. Do you think we should have planned to have all of the countries have similar economic development?
Well, I don't know. Did you just come into the conference? I thought I spoke for what, 45 minutes on that issue?
I totally understand that. Like I said, my question seems very naive, but
No,
to
no,
me,
no.
to me, I still feel that the ASEAN is made up to, and it is more beneficial to the countries which is high GDP.
Correct. You see, not only high GDP, it's the ready countries, the business. You must remember, go back to that premise. ASEAN was a market-driven initiative because the ASEAN Economic Community was the one that was focused on with the ASEAN Free Trade Area. And who was that meant for? The private sector. The private sector is more dynamic than governments. When they see an opportunity, they go. So we have people moving out of Malaysia, moving out of Singapore, going into the ASEAN countries. But we cannot deny the fact that not everybody is ready to go cross-border in ASEAN. These SMEs, we are still nurturing them now to go across borders. The small will always remain domestic. That's how it is, unless you groom them and nurture them to be bigger. Now, having said that, we cannot allow that to be the norm. That's what I mentioned just now. Talk about capacity building. Explain capacity building. 1, capacity of the workforce. 2, capacity of the people in business. 3, capacity of raising incomes so that they can be a market unto themselves. Then you see ASEAN filtering down its benefits straight to the grassroots. For example, factories being set up in Vietnam, Cambodia by ASEAN companies from Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, right? That should help your people create employment, create more incomes, create retail businesses, and so on, right? Spin-off effects. That should happen now. That should happen now. But the private sector are also expecting the individual ASEAN countries are able to receive them with minimum constraints, able to facilitate their work, don't have anything that going to delay their making money. You know what I mean? So each ASEAN government must now look inwards to see, are they creating the enabling environment to allow entrepreneurs from outside countries in ASEAN to go to your country, right? That we cannot tell you. We can only tell you what's wrong, what's not there. Like Myanmar, those days, 6 exchange rates, that's no way to do business. So we told them, now they've changed. So the same, everybody must, not even Malaysia must do. We are not, my goodness, we still have a lot of shortcomings, you know. Tomorrow I'm going to talk to civil service and tell them where they are. So it means that each country must be able to enhance its own capacity. So then only these cross flows of benefits will happen. But we can't wait for that to happen, right? So those who are ready, go first. Don't begrudge them. Don't begrudge them. But now we must accelerate for the second tier businesses to help open up the CLMV countries.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, all right.
Next question. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Tan Sri, for your very honest sharing. My name is Kyra.
When you share anything, it has to be honest.
Yeah.
Not lip service.
Yeah, you're brutally honest, so we really appreciate
No, there's
that.
no such thing as brutally or non-brutally. It is just be honest as being hypocrite, the opposite.
Yes, yes. Thank you for being so candid and open with us. Thank you. My name is Kyra. I'm from Singapore, a delegation. I have a question. 2 questions, actually. I think one thing that you raised was everyone here, I think, we believe in ASEAN, don't we? Don't we believe? Yes, okay. So we do believe in ASEAN. I think that's why we're here. That's why a lot of countries, since their independence, started ASEAN and wanted to join very early on. But the key thing you raised is, for example, when we have joint collaborations, like you have an ASEAN delegate that goes and promote ASEAN as a bloc, naturally what happens is the local priority takes precedence. And I'm trying to think deeper. Why is that, right? So I kind of ruled out 2 factors. So one is accountability. For example, in 5 years, if I'm a parliamentarian, if I'm a minister, for example, in 5 years, if I don't do well in my country, I'm probably going to be voted out, right? Generally. So naturally, your priorities would think primarily about how do I create jobs for my people? How do I promote services for my people? How do I promote education for my people? Although it makes a lot of sense to promote the region on itself because it's strong, the natural precedence is my people, my economic goals first. So then the question is, how do we promote accountability when there's no political accountability in that sense? That's one question. Second, assuming we can somehow promote this and achieve this, one factor you raise is in products, for example, with ACTA, we were able to promote the good exchange of goods easily because companies were leading. They saw a lot of benefits. But when it comes to service, probably human resource, the very real factor is if there is seamless exchange of human capital, in the short term, although long-term benefits are real, but in the short term, what can result is probably a shift of jobs, right? And then there will be unemployment and all that. How do we deal with those costs, although short-term, but very real in its impact? Thank you.
Okay, the first one. I would like all of you to go back with this message, following what she said. A politician thinks of the next election. A leader thinks of the next generation. Okay? So if you have politicians thinking like this, vote them out. I mean, how can you put yourself, next year maybe I'm not in parliament anymore? Who cares? This country has to go on, right? Every country. Nobody is indispensable. So if you're a politician, be a leader and thinks of the next generation, whether you're in or out. Silence. Yeah. Right? Do I not hit home?
Yes,
so
you do.
Don't give me that kind of way. They're not politicians. They're just opportunists.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, ASEAN is an evolving thing, kan? You cannot think while you are in power, in service as a parliamentarian. You must think well beyond. Who knows? Maybe you're not going to have be MP again, but you're going to die tomorrow. So what? So you must do something that stretches way beyond your lifetime. You have to be future-proof. Correct?
Yes.
So 2 new words there, future-proof. So please, when you talk about accountability, you should be accountable to the country, not to yourself and your tenure as MP. And all that. No. That's not, by my standards, no. I'm no longer an MP. I come here to talk to us of ASEAN. Why should I bother? Kyrie, you don't pay me, you know. If I get sore throat, I got to go to doctor, you pay me for my doctor's fees for talking so much. No, I'm serious. You know what I mean? It's because of the sense of wanting to share something, an opportunity to share with the young people, who are most of you are my granddaughter's age. So, that's a difference, right? So think, a politician thinks of the next elections, a leader and a statesman even thinks of the next generation after he or she has died, the legacy carries. So, that's it. You must do whatever needs to be done, collaboration or whatever, that is good for the ASEAN community. If it's good for ASEAN community, you also have the spin-off to your own country, your own people. Right? It's all, related.
Okay, Tan Sri.
Okay. Nanti ni ada belakang dia satu lah. Suan yang ASEAN.
Ya, ada belah kanan pun ada satu lagi, Tan Sri.
And we do this one first and then last there. I overrule you. Okay. I need to eat too, Okay.
So, last one, right? Hello, everybody. I've just noticed I'm the last one here.
From where?
Last question. I'm from China.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. Let me put something in short, okay? My question is, since I'm a businessman, I'm running a factory in China now doing the refrigeration business.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed, because I never come to Malaysia. It's my first time here. Thanks for hospitality from Malaysia. But because I don't know too much about the knowledge locally, but I need to know something. Do you have any good policy in attracting investment from around the world?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
The meaty minister who should be here around, kan?
Yeah.
Ask him. We have stacks of incentives. In fact, every year I go to China to attract Chinese investments here. I used to go.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions for me? Because I just come here. I don't know too much about locally because I'm running factory.
Well,
but
you're fabricating.
Mechanicals.
Huh?
Mechanics.
I know you fabricating or you manufacturing components and parts.
We manufacturing the
built-up place.
Equipments.
Well, you can try and source some of the parts and components from Malaysia because we've had a long history of supplying parts and components and vendors to many multinational companies. Yeah. We even export them. We're not talking about cheap, we're talking about very high quality and look at this kind of equipment. You cannot just anyhow, be anyhow with your quality. It doesn't meet all the standards in the global marketplace. Yeah. No, you can. I suggest that you meet up with MIDA, Malaysian Industrial Development Authority. Now it's called Investment Development Authority. They'll be able to tell you what package incentives.
Okay, thank you, Tan Sri. And I have a suggestion for you. Maybe because China and Malaysia, we have very high level, very tight economic connections, but not in the private sector. Because for me, I never heard of any.
Oh no, that's not true. There is a joint chamber of Chinese and Malaysian business people.
Okay.
But they are mostly old. Not your age. So it's time. I would tell them, try and get in the young entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. The last question
last
from the far right.
Okay, any more? No more? No, bagi puas hati lah.
In the end, can I have an invitation for you? Come to China. Yeah.
Invite me and pay for my fare. And anyway, I can't. No.
Absolutely no problem. Yeah.
No, they add where I chair. We fly to China free, so pay for my hospitality.
No problem.
Hotel. That's a joke.
Okay, see you in China.
Okay, last question. Last question there.
Okay, I cannot see her face. Maybe I move.
What?
I would like to see your face. Okay.
No need, come. I tell you what, you walk here faster.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You see, that's how a grandmother treats a grandson. Okay, run. Last question.
Okay, good evening. Oh, sorry, good afternoon.
Never mind, just go to the question.
Straight forward to the question.
Where are you from?
I'm from Thailand.
Okay, Sawadee-krap.
Yes, Sawadee-krap. Okay, like you said, we will be together. We need to be together, right? I want to ask you one question. What is the things that really make us deeply inside that we are together? We have no Thai, no Vietnamese, no Malaysian, but we are ASEANese.
That's very difficult to answer in one sentence. Even in Malaysia, very difficult to think I'm not Malay, I'm not Chinese, I'm not Indian, I'm Malaysian. We still have problems. So let alone talk about we are ASEAN. I don't think we should want to straight away say, I am ASEAN, because that's easily mentioned, lip service.
No, I mean, it's like...
But what you need to do is to feel ASEAN. Yeah, like
Yeah,
you go to business, learn from each other.
Yeah.
Okay?
I feel it's like if we have the same heart, like you and me.
I don't know.
I mean, like if we have the same heart, we have the same mind. It's easy for us to work well and move forward. That's what I'm
That's
thinking.
easier said than done lah. That's what the politicians say. In reality, we have our own imperatives. We have our own issues and problems at domestic level. Now, having said that, it is up to ASEAN collectively to help each member country with problems to rise above those problems. Whatever the problems are, capacity building, infrastructure, all that. Then we begin to feel ASEAN. Yeah? And the young people, to me, is a place to begin with because you are the ones going to decide in your areas of influence later on. You're going to work in departments, you're going to do business, you're going to be in government. So begin with you to start that feeling of ASEAN-ness and ASEAN identity.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Kap kun ka. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tan Sri, for the very lovely and... Okay. Thank you so much, Tan Sri. Based on the keynote address, we realized that ASEAN hasn't reached its full potential. It is vital to focus on the pillars and measure. It's not just based on the economic matters. 3 pillars. Okay, tak payah summary. Tapi I still think that all the youth leaders who come here, you need to be able to map out and drill it onto most important issues on moving along with ASEAN vision for the future. With that, I hand the floor to the MC. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mbage Tan Sri Rafidah Aziz, and thank you, Mr. Muammar Gaddafi Jamal. I would like to invite the Honorable Mr. Khairi Jamaluddin, the Minister of Youth and Sports Malaysia, to give a token of appreciation to our distinguished speaker and dedicated moderator as a memento from AYLS 2015. Please welcome Yang Bahagia Tan Sri Rafidah Aziz. The memento is one of the initiative by BGBG for AYLS 2015. Please welcome Mr. Muammar Gaddafi Jamal. Thank you very much. Thank you, the Honorable Mr. Khairi Jamaluddin, Minister of Youth and Sports Malaysia. Thank you, Mbage Tan Sri Rafidah Aziz, and thank you, Mr. Muammar Gaddafi Jamal.